Hey, how about you, everybody? Welcome into another edition of the Auburn Live Show, Recruiting Edition, also known as the Shrivel Freaking Pod. Your host, Jeffrey Lee, Senior Recruiting Editor for Auburn Live on 3 cents a month. It's pretty cheap. Still a little bit more than a pack of smokes. And a can of dip, for that matter. Anyways, we got a great show for you today, man. Lots to talk about. A lot went on in the last couple of days since our call-in show on Tuesday night. I want to thank everybody for calling in and listening, man. It's been a big hit. We appreciate everybody. If you haven't caught that, make sure to do that next Tuesday night on our Facebook page at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. But anyways, like I said, we got a great show. A lot of things happening. Got a commitment. Got some signing. We'll start at the top with Mr. Cole Pinkston, recruiting analyst for Auburn Live on 3. How the hell are you, Cole?
I'm doing good, man. I got the allergies going a little bit. You know, we're doing it early in the morning, and it usually hits me then. So, hey, let's roll with it, though. Let's roll.
I like it, man. Thank you, some Benadryl.
I did. If I fall asleep or something, you know, just holler at me.
If you get on the nod.
Yeah, just.
I learned that word from the Johnny Depp trial. Y'all following that shit?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And coming in from the bottom, this is Jhead. Poor thing, man. Well, y'all don't love Jhead too much, man. We are working feverishly to get too hard on him. Jhead, how are you?
Brother, that was perfect. That was absolutely perfect. I'm doing great. Excited to see Cole take his nap halfway through the show, see if his mouse just hits the floor. We hear a thump. You know what I mean? So, but no, a lot to talk about. There's a lot of news lately with the transfer portal. Lynn's Elite 11 performance, which was really, really nice.
Yeah.
And maybe we're going to pack some transfers that we've got in this class so far. So, for this show.
Well, big news. Wednesday night, we got the word that Craig McDonald, the Iowa State defensive back transfer, who had already committed to Auburn this past weekend on his official visit, went ahead and signed. That was not really that much of a surprise. We were all expecting that. But about an hour later, he got an addition. Auburn got an addition to him in Morris Joseph, the defensive line from Memphis, who also visited this past weekend with Craig McDonald. Spoke to both of them Sunday. Had a good feeling about Morris Joseph. When he left Sunday, I thought it was only a matter of time. We found out Wednesday night he committed, and then Thursday morning he signed. Let's go to Cole first. Done some film room on both of these guys, if I'm not mistaken, Cole. What is Auburn getting here?
Well, you know, tons and tons of production, first of all. He had over 100 tackles in his career at Memphis.
Who are we talking about? I'm sorry, I should have been more clear.
Morris Joseph,
defensive lineman from Memphis, 1 year of eligibility remaining. Take it away.
Yeah. 1 year left. He spent 3 seasons at Memphis, had over 100 tackles, over 10 sacks, you know, over 20 tackles for loss. So a lot of production there. That's always important. A lot of people think that's the most important thing in the portal. Me personally, I don't, but I think it is important. You know, I watched this film. I think he's really good. I think he's got a quick first step. I think he's a good pass rusher from the interior, which is something that I think Auburn really needed to add. And I do question sometimes his effort on plays that go away from him because, you know, I just call things as I see them. That's what I'm here for. And I think that'll be corrected. I think that's something that they probably talked to him about already, and something that'll have to change if he wants to make a really big impact in the SEC, I think.
Jhead, where do you see this guy playing? Is he a 3 guy? Is he a 5? And listen, 3 is your traditional. This is for me, by the way, helping to understand these numbers. 3 is a traditional defensive tackle. 5. It didn't look like the traditional 3 I would expect to see, but that's without pads on. Jhead, where do you see this guy playing?
So I think with his quickness and his power, he can play at both spots. And really, he's going to provide depth, okay? He's not going to start over Kobe Wooden. He's not going to start over Marcus Harris. Complete depth piece to come in and compete with Walker and Jeffrey Imba at those 2 positions to try to provide depth and to keep guys off the field that aren't necessarily ready to play yet, like our strong side defensive end, Coley, the kid from
Yeah,
from
that's right.
from Marquise Robinson that
Yeah.
you those guys in the game right away. Should you have an in you need to get somebody out rotationally speaking. Oh, Joseph can come in and I mean he can and if see if he can in Jeffrey Imba or he Walker all the you know what I mean because now you've got a more productive fulfilling. So the other great thing about him, he's only taken up a scholarship for 1 year.
Right.
So you're not overloading yourself, but you're taking a chance or you're taking a gamble on a guy that's got some proven production. It's maybe he can 5 level, maybe he can't. We're going and a trial run like that, Darius Knight and last year, you want it to be on a 1 year guy. So
Yeah.
interested to see how it all shakes out as far as that's concerned. I like the addition specifically this year, and it's a stuff. And I think it was a really smart and savvy move by the staff.
Good pickup. And the thing with Joseph to me is the biggest thing. He had some stud-ish numbers 2 years ago.
Yeah, he did.
I mean, he had like 7 sacks,
Mhm.
multiple, numerous double-digit tackles for loss, and then had a little drop-off last year. I think he only played in 6 games last year, if I'm not mistaken. He might have been injured. He's almost like an Alan Flanagan. He went off 2 years ago with like freaking MVP of the unit, and then took a little downturn last year. And I don't know if that was injury. I think he missed 3 games for some reason. I'm thinking that. But you needed a depth guy. He's not coming in here expecting a start, but he's very fired up to get in here to play on the biggest stage. And he's going to be a motivated guy to get in and get his snaps and take advantage of every opportunity he gets. Kind of a guy you want. Craig McDonald, on the other hand, talking about a guy with 3 years. Now, in my opinion, if you're going to take a guy with 3 years, you better expect him to play on special teams early and be a contributor if you're going to make that 3-year commitment to a kid. Cole, what do you think about Craig McDonald, safety from Iowa State?
To me, that's one of the best pickups so far in the transfer portal, and I'm counting last year too when you got Marcus Harris and Kaufman and those guys.
Yep.
He is the biggest thing with him to me is that he's still got 3 years to play, and he was really, really good last year as a redshirt freshman at Iowa State, who, by the way, was a top 20 defense in the country. Actually, I think they were top 10. They were somewhere in there. I know they were top 20 in pass defense.
Is Paul Rhodes still there? Hell no.
Is he?
John Heacock is the defensive coordinator at Iowa State. He does a fantastic job. I think Notre Dame looked at him real hard this past year as their DC underneath Marcus Freeman, but mere DCs and runs a lot of various schemes in the back end there. So issue from a knowledge standpoint for Craig McDonald, he's going to have been exposed to a lot of different.
He reminds me of Donovan Kaufman, and I don't know if and he's not short like in stature. I don't know if it's just the freshman year that they had, the production that they've had, the expectations they have. I realize they're 2 different players, but as far as the buzz about them, I expect Donovan Kaufman-like numbers from Craig McDonald.
Yeah, I actually put a comparison in when I did his Inside the Commitment, Jeffrey. I went with an old, well, not old, back to 2013 Auburn player, Ryan Smith, the safety from Cordova, Alabama.
Hell yeah.
Just because he is you may remember that Ryan Smith he was a low tackler. He was very aggressive against the run, and he just made plays all the time. And he was kind of a quiet guy. To me, that's who Craig McDonald was for Iowa State. He really didn't start probably but maybe 4 or 5 games, but he was always in the rotation. But every time he stepped on the field, he was making big hits. He was, catching. He was breaking up passes. He got some interceptions off some tips, but that's just because he's always around the football. And to me, that's reminiscent of Ryan Smith and the way that he played, and that's just kind of, I don't know. That's the name that came to mind when I watched them play, and they're both kind of tall, lengthy guys. So if you want a good comparison, that to me is the one.
That is the signing of both Morris and McDonald gives Auburn 3 for this spring. Trivisa, 3. There you go. 3. But I thought it was interesting Wednesday night, we saw Auburn go out and offer Diamante Tucker Dorsey a lot freaking stud-ish numbers from James Madison, kids from Norfolk, Virginia. He's 5'10", something like that. He's T-Will type guy. But Auburn jumped on him early. I know that they love his experience. He's been a starter there. I think he started the past 35 games. He played a lot. Let me look at his numbers. 116 tackles last year. 9 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 4 interceptions from a linebacker spot. Yeah. And Auburn loves that experience. They need some depth at the linebacker position. He's a grad transfer, so transfer eligibility shouldn't be a problem for him. You're only making a one-year commitment. Problem with him is that shit, man. Texas A&M, Ole Miss, UCF, Florida State all have jumped in on this guy and gotten into the game with him. He hasn't set up any visits, but I thought it was interesting offer. Jhead, what do you think about Diamante? Tuck is what they call him, Tuck.
Fantastic player. I mean, really, really good, and somebody that could probably place the production that you lost with Zacoby McClain from the. You don't see teams the caliber of Texas A&M, Ole Miss jump in, Florida State jump in.
T-Will.
Quality. UCF and T-Will, very quality. So, love what he could provide us, potentially in there replacing Zacoby over at the wheel, maybe at the mic. I'm sure how that's.
Dude, who's getting OnlyFans tips? Yeah, I know y'all heard that too.
Yeah, I hear it.
Yeah, man, that's my family texting me right now. But
I mean, I don't know anything about OnlyFans, but I'm just assuming that's what it's like. We'll go to Cole. Cole, give me your assessment of Mr. Tucker Dorsey.
I've only seen a little highlight tape of him, and I haven't really watched all of his film, but he looks like that guy that's kind of like Owen Papo. He can cover a lot of ground as a linebacker, and to me, it just kind of speaks to they're just not 100% sold on the linebacker group right now, which is something that we've kind of talked about, and they just need one more guy to come in there and really help out this 2022 season while these younger guys grow into the role, And I think the way that Schmedding and the way that Robinson likes to do things is have a deep rotation there.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't. There's no foul at all in trying to get this guy.
Your commitment, and you know what, we won't spend a lot of time on this guy until he sets a visit and gets serious. But because this is a 1-year guy, and Auburn doesn't have a lot of, at least on paper, a lot of playing time to offer this guy, except for the being in the rotation. So I think there's some concern there on Auburn's side of whether or not the numbers align for a guy like him, especially when you've got all these other big SEC schools coming in. I think that was a big draw to Auburn. But I thought the biggest, and Jhead, this is going to be a big. I think you've been kind of giving us the heads up on this for a long time about the signing class. The NCAA on Wednesday officially withdrew for the next 2 years the signing class limitations. The 25 number is gone. And Auburn was obviously excited to hear that because we saw some reactions on Twitter from Darren Usher. Big how about you to him. But that recruiting department's been killing it lately. And what does that mean for Auburn, Jhead?
Well, it means they can fill up to the 85-man limit without being capped in this class, and that's fantastic this year. And even better news for next year. So say we don't fill up to our 85, we're not hamstrung by the 25-man limit to replace the numbers in the class that we need. We can take as many high school and JUCO prospects as we absolutely want without necessarily having to worry about adding transfers. You can just completely fill up. If you've got quality guys, you can take as many quality guys as you possibly want. So I think this is fantastic news for us. Here's the thing. It's only been approved in the next 2 years. So they'll have to vote on it again within they want to make it permanent or not. In the short term, this is good for Auburn. Now, it's not because teams like Alabama and Georgia and Texas A&M, they can do the exact same thing. They can take as many as long as they stay underneath the 85. So it does open the window. But if you're in a position that Auburn's in and you need scholarship and you don't want to be hamstrung on your numbers, This is fantastic news. I feel certain that we're going to be able to take more quality prospects now. Would have been able to. So I don't see the downside immediately for Auburn. This is all very positive news. Glad to see that they did this. Also very glad to see that they put windows on the portal, or they're proposing windows on the portal.
What do you mean?
Guys. So right now, the NCAA has proposed to the NCAA that they're going to put windows on the portal, which means that kids can only jump in during certain. So right now, the proposal from the AFCA is that you can enter the portal, I think, after your last game or the last Sunday in November up until either the early signing period or after your last game. So for those guys season play, whether they're, in the playoff or a bowl game, or even at the FCS and they're playing in the championship there in the playoff, you don't have to, while that's going on, make a decision.
So
Your last game.
So that tells me, Jhead, that they are they're basically making a dead period for the portal now. And they're hearing
correct. So,
it sounds like they're really hearing these coaches out when they're complaining about it. Or they seem to have their hands tied about it, at least.
100%. Right. So what they're doing is they're not letting kids out, or let kids start the season and they jump in the damn portal and they've waited all season long. Now they're being forced to make a decision. Coaches don't have to constantly recruit their roster, which is a huge issue right now.
Right.
Yep.
Constantly recruiting their own roster. So they're going to put that first window there, that open a spring window, and it's going to be April 15th to May 1st, or that's the proposal as of today. I think that's fantastic news. What it does is it kind of makes to the NFL where you have a free agency period and there's only set date to set date. This is really good news. In addition to the 85-man, the portal windows, that's the best news the coaches have heard in a really long rule standpoint.
Yeah, man. You know what? I'm curious if that rule was in place for the 2022 class that Auburn just signed with just 17 guys in it. How many of those guys that were on the bubble do you think they would have really pushed for if that was the case? Because I think they were probably holding out for numbers in the transfer portal, and they've got 8 now, which is pretty good. I think they may have wanted more than that at one time, but as we talked about the what was it, Jeffrey? The PT, what's it called?
Progress toward degree.
Yeah, PTD rules. So, they got a little hindered there too. But I'm just curious. Guys like maybe Caleb Webb or Marquarius Squirrel White, guys that they just kind of Justin Williams, maybe they would have pushed harder for those guys if they knew there was no limit to how many you could take in.
Right.
So
not been so selective. Yeah.
I think the 2023 class is going to push closer to 25, 30 players, if I had to guess, with this rule in place.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I fully see us trying to take high school and JUCO prospects right now. I don't think lesson in this class to a degree. They're not going to just lean on the portal. I think they're going to learn. They're going to try to take as many quality school prospects as they can and JUCO prospects, and then kind of augment their holes or deficiencies through the portal. As they lose a guy, they replace a guy, and not necessarily try to build off the portal like they did this past season.
And I'll say too, even with the roadblocks they've hit in the portal, they still managed to get in guys like Craig McDonald, DJ James, Jason Jones, Zach Calzada, guys that are really going to contribute and might even be, stars at Auburn. So there's still an opportunity to get good players from the portal, but now they probably learned, hey, let's not rely on that. And now opening up this class limit thing, man, that really gives you more options.
No, listen, it makes it like the NFL, right?
Do you think this is going to improve the level and quality of the transfer portal? So you're talking about Georgia and Alabama being able to sign up to 85, right? Throw the 25 out. So now are more kids going to be processed? More younger kids going to be processed? If Alabama and Georgia are taking full filling up their roster every year, they got to make room for these new guys coming up, right? Is that a possibility that improves the quality of the transfer portal?
Yep, absolutely.
Theoretically, at least.
I think, even if I think the cream always rises to the top. So if you are one of the best players in high school or in the portal, it doesn't matter. You're going to make a roster somewhere. The ones that supposedly aren't, good enough to stay on roster, those are the ones that are going to, be still out there floating when it's all said and done, which I think there's going to be a lot of people floating from the transfer portal this year with so many people that entered and that's the way it's going right now. But there's also high school kids that are floating because teams are waiting to see what they can get from the portal.
Right.
So the cream will rise to the top. You better be good. They're going to take you if you're good. They're not. If you're questionable, they're not going to take you, and that's how it'll go.
Speaking of it, the transfer portal, the quality of the transfer portals. Cole mentioned, name some guys that Auburn has signed. 8 transfers they've added since December.
Yep.
Let's look at Auburn's inventory of transfers right now. You guys are going to know this a lot more than me, but I know Jhead was talking about maybe ranking these guys, the impact transfers that Auburn's brought in. We'll name them just the 3 right now. We know of Dzalen Worsham, Morris Joseph, Craig McDonald, Jason Jones, DJ James, Zach Calzada,
Robbie Ashford,
Eugene Asante.
And Eugene Asante. So, knowing those guys, 5 of which are already here, 3 will be here in the next week or 2, starting for 2 days. What do y'all think about these guys? How do you see them impacting the roster this year? Got a couple of grad transfers, and Morris Joseph are 1-year guys. Asante is also a 1-year guy. Most of these guys are multiple, though.
Yeah, that's a big deal too when you're breaking it down because
most of them got 2 or 3. I mean, Calzada's got 3, Ashford's got 4.
Yeah, he's got 4. Craig McDonald's got 3. I think DJ James has 2.
Jason Jones.
Daz has 4. Jason,
Damn.
Yeah.
2. I can't remember. So
there's only one guy this year that only has 1 year, and that's Joseph.
And Asante, right?
No, Asante's got 2, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's got 2 because he had a redshirt year mixed.
Dang, so only 1 year.
Yeah, which compared to last year, you had what? Knighton, Fair. Was there anybody else?
Hey,
the kid from West Virginia turned into a 1 year.
Demetrius Robertson was a 1 year too.
Yeah, there you go.
And I made that point when I was writing about those guys that, when you're looking at the portal and everyone likes to talk about depth and how you're building depth, well, you're not doing it when you get a 1-year guy. You're not building depth at all, in my opinion. Yeah, 1 year. That's it.
Yep.
Morris Joseph. Okay, so we talk about who do you think he replaces? Whose reps are they bringing in for him to take? Is it Tony?
Ian Matthews.
Okay, it's not Tony Fair because that's the nose guy. He's a 1, right?
Yeah, he's a 1 or a 0. I would say Jason Jones was the Tony Fair replacement, and he's going to battle with our current starter at nose tackle. What's his name? The Big Cheese from Chicago.
Burks.
Marquise.
Yep, Marquise Burks. He's going to battle Burks at the nose, which is what Tony did last year.
And
that's an upgrade.
Big East was in there as well at nose.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
let's
go ahead. Rank those bitches.
Let's rank them. Let's start with I'll start it off. Do you guys want to go in invert to 1? Do 1 to 8?
Let's go.
You and Cole are going to head this up, man. Y'all go. I'm gonna go check on my clothes.
Let's go 8 to 1, Jhead. Give me your 8. I'll give you mine, and then we'll keep going down the line.
Sounds good. Off with Robbie Ashford, Oregon.
Yep.
The reason why I'm going to go with Robbie Ashford is because I think we're going to predominantly only play 1 quarterback. I think that he is definitely a better player than I thought he would be.
Yeah.
Specifically what he showed me in spring. I think he adds a lot of depth to the quarterback room. I just don't think he's going to get on the field very much this coming fall.
Right. All right. Same for me. It is going to be Robbie Ashford. In 4 years, got 4 years, right? So if we're talking about production for this coming season, probably not going to be the starter. That's just the feel right now, right?
100%.
All right. Who you got at 7?
At 7, I got Mo Joseph, That's who I'm rolling with. And he may, end up being higher on the list, but right now I see him behind Jeffrey Imbe and Zeke Walker, and then obviously behind Marcus Harris and Kobe Wooden. So unless he just exceeds my expectations in fall camp, I got Mo Joseph at number 7.
Okay. Number 7, I'm going to go with Zalen Worsham. I think he adds depth to the receiver room, but I don't think he's going to burst onto the scene exactly. So, but he's got 4 years or 3 or 4 years, whatever, too. So, that's another guy that could be better in the future, but probably not for 2022.
Okay. Jay Lee, just to catch you up, we've gone number 8 at Robbie Ashford. At number 7, I went Morris Joseph, and then obviously Cole went Daz Worsham. So now we're to 6, and I'm going to go with Eugene Asante. I'm not sure. I didn't get him in spring or what he could contribute. If we're looking for looking at another linebacker right now, that makes me think that they're still looking for playmakers there. So, how much of an impression Asante made? Maybe that changes in fall camp, but hey, I think he's behind Wesley Steiner, behind Cam Riley. I just don't know what they're going to create.
Yeah, that's the key. That they're looking for another linebacker. To me, that's the key. But my number 6 is going to be Morris Joseph. I just think that he is a depth piece. I don't think he's going to play a significant number of snaps, but enough snaps to help out.
Gotcha.
So now, did y'all have about the same bottom 4 of that group? Yeah. Ashford, Mojo, Daz, and Asante.
Yeah,
Jhead, you haven't gotten to Asante, have you?
He was number 6 for Jhead, and Asante's number 5 for me.
Okay, so now you're talking about your top 4.
Yeah,
transfers.
So Jhead's on number 5 now.
Oh, okay,
number 5. So and you're right, Jeffrey. Daz Worsham was the next guy there.
Okay,
so that's it. Daz for me. I think he's going to move into the flanker spot and compete at the Z with MJJ. And I'm just interested to see, Daz is coming out of a pro-style scheme this spring. What kind of athleticism can he show? How quickly can he pick up the scheme? I think there's a definite need at wide receiver, which is why I've got him higher than some of the other guys.
Right.
And if he can come in and that athleticism that he's and the ability to catch the ball and make plays down the field, I think he can be a big player than some of the other guys we've listed.
Yeah.
So top 4, the top half,
top 4.
Who y'all? I mean, I've got them written down, and it's pretty. These are going to be the most impactful transfers.
Yeah.
This year for Auburn.
Go ahead, Jhead. Give us your 4.
So I'll give you my 4. So we're going to go Craig McDonald at 4, Jason Jones at 3, DJ James at 2, and no secret, Zach Calzada number 1. Nobody touches the ball more than the quarterback. We need big play to make some noise this season on the plains this fall. So I think it's no question Zach Calzada number 1.
Nice. Mine is completely different.
Oh.
So number 4 is Jason Jones for me.
Okay.
Number 3 is going to be Craig McDonald. Was that your 3 though? That was your 3, wasn't it?
No.
Those were flip-flop.
Okay. So number 2 is Zach Calzada for me. But really, and DJ James is number 1. Let me make sure that I'm clear here. They're basically 1A and 1B to me because as much as Auburn needed better quarterback play, they also have to replace Roger McCreary. And that is a tall task. So I think DJ James, maybe if he's not the direct replacement, he's a way to help replace Roger McCreary. I'm hearing he's extremely fast. I'm hearing he's all that, but I've seen him too, and I think he's really good. So he's number 1 for me.
DJ James, Spanish forward.
Yeah, I really like him, man.
Very good player. And you know what? He offers a lot of versatility. I think where DJ will be, obviously, I back up this year to our 2 starters in Simpson and Pritchett. But what I like about DJ is the flexibility to play the nickel. So when you play teams like Alabama or you play teams that like to spread you out like Mississippi State, you're not going to have that mismatch that we had in the year. DJ can come in and cover those smaller, shiftier, wide receivers that play in the slot. So we're not going to be as exposed as this year.
I'll tell you what, I'll give you one thing that I noticed on his film, and this was in the Ohio State game where he had to go against their receivers, who we all know are really good. So Roger McCreary, I think he had 3 interceptions in the end zone, 2 or 3 interceptions in the end zone in his career at Auburn. One was against Kentucky, one was against Ole Miss. Maybe it was 2. Anyway.
Tennessee.
Yeah, and Tennessee. Okay, so DJ James looked stronger to me when his back was against the wall in those games. So that's why I think he's a good replacement for McCreary. So we'll see how that goes.
Interesting, fellas. Y'all going to look bad when Robbie Astor takes the field.
I'm going to look bad when Morris Joseph is running down tackles 99 yards away because I talked about his effort not being great.
Have fun in that interview, Cole. Go right ahead, man.
Staying on the theme of the transfer portal, for all you guys listening, I know it's a hot topic right now. As of right now, y'all correct me, apart from Diamante Tucker Dorsey, I have 0 names to watch.
Yeah, I don't have any either. But
no names to watch. Go ahead, Cole. I'm sorry.
I cut you off, but I'm telling you, I'm gonna have to go back through the portal and see who's left because I really think the Morris Joseph deal was probably a guy that they kept tabs on for a while and then came back to here at the end and said, you know what, I think he's good enough to come in and help us 1 year. Let's do it.
When did he go in the portal? There was one guy that I was shocked to hear that he had been talking to Auburn for about 2 months.
It's probably him because he's been committed to Georgia Tech for a little while.
There you go.
Yeah. I just think he was revisited by the staff. So I think there's probably others that'll be revisited too.
I agree. And 2 names that I'm watching right now at the wide receiver position are going to be Deion Smith. Can he get his academic at LSU? And do we make Ike make a swing back through there on him? Because that's a number 1 type wide receiver, or that's what he showed in his freshman year. Deion Smith.
From LSU.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Can he get his academics right? Yeah, he was a freshman this past year. Right away at the X. The other guy is going to be Caleb Chapman. Does he get a waiver from the SEC because he's about to become a graduate transfer? Is he somebody that we double back on? So those are 2 guys that I'm watching right now. I've got no intel saying that that's going to happen, or the 2 guys, but those are just 2 that I'm monitoring that I've got a lot of interest in. And I know we posted Deion Smith when he first hit the portal, but the feedback was he had a lot of work to do this past. So now that work is completed, do we circle back around if those transcripts now match up?
And really the only other position of need that Auburn entered this season wanting to fill is the edge.
Yeah.
And since I believe since last week, Odua Isabor committed to Cal. And I think I know this might sound bad, but it might have been a blessing. Like Cole said, man, I mean, Creamer, dude, this dude wanted no part of what Auburn had.
We talked about that, right? That Hall and Leota was somewhat of a
deterrent.
Yeah. So,
but even though they had they had reps to give, this kid, and I'm gonna say this, and this is just from talking to people closer that knows more about his recruitment than I do, or at least publicly. His dad was more concerned about Leota and Derek Hall than the kid was. The kid really wanted to play on the SEC level. I mean, dude, he left UCLA wanting to get to a bigger stage, and he went to freaking Cal. I mean, that ought to tell you something, right?
Yeah.
So I think he saw the writing on the wall, or at least his dad did. As a 1-year guy, right? He was a 1-year guy.
Yeah.
So he wants somewhere that he can. There's an empty spot at the top of that depth chart. Auburn didn't have that. They had some down here, but his dad really wants really wanted a better situation and a better opportunity for guaranteed playing time than Auburn was offering. So we won't waste any more time on that guy. He's done. So, but Jhead mentioned a couple of wide receivers. The only other position I can think of is best available, which I think we're seeing with Tucker Dorsey. A stud player that can improve the
100%.
Yes.
And then the edge position, which we kind of warned everybody about 2 weeks ago when I kind of had a feeling this Isabor wasn't going to work out. Worst case scenario was Auburn doesn't sign an edge. Not the end of the world. We just talked about they got 2 all SEC, probably all American. I mean, some studs coming back at the position. So it's not the end of the world. You can move guys from inside outside to get some help there when you needed it, some temporary help. And Auburn could take a D tackle, which they now have with Morris Joseph.
And you wonder too, Jeffrey, if looking for another linebacker is a way to try to incorporate Cam Riley with the edges more, because he worked there in the spring. So
I could see it, man.
He's got
Cam Riley. He looks like an edge. Hell, he came out of high school looking like he looked like Carlos Dansby to me.
Yeah, he's got the.
That's what he did in high school. Yeah, he was an edge in high school. That's primarily where he played. Now, he dropped in coverage some, but predominantly he was an edge player in high school, and he's had to learn to play in the box. That's been a big adjustment for him. So getting him back out in space or on the edge, I think that would be a natural transition. But you're right, Cole. If you take another linebacker like this kid from James Madison, that definitely gives you the flexibility to play a guy like Cam Riley, who's probably in your 2 deep right now, out on the edge.
Yeah.
Especially situationally.
I love and hate the transfer portal. It's a freaking roller coaster, man.
Yeah, it is.
It's a roller coaster, emotional roller coaster for me. I mean, you get so invested in the kid, and then it's not an option, and you go, "Oh my god!" So, man, it's been a roller coaster transfer portal season for Auburn so far. Looks like it's kind of winding down. Is there a deadline coming up? No, it's just enrollment, right? Everybody's that's going to be eligible this next year. Now you've got to enroll somewhere within the next 2 weeks. I think Auburn's all the signees are reporting. The rest of the signees are reporting May 27th, I think, end of this month, which will unofficially start summer workouts.
Yes.
You know what thought just hit my mind is Morris Joseph was, from what I understand, technically still committed to Georgia Tech. Is that right?
I didn't count him, but I guess technically, yes.
Okay. Well, how many guys are not signed that are technically committed somewhere else in the transfer portal? I'm curious. We don't know. I mean, it's impossible to know, right? If they signed or not, unless they're, I guess their Twitter page put out that they signed like Auburn does, but
that's pretty typical. They want to lay claim to their guys. If they haven't released it, then he hasn't signed. I'm pretty sure on that.
Well, that might be something that we are unaware of that could be going on if there's anybody just kind of still hanging out there, not signed anywhere. So who knows? This next 2 weeks is probably going to be wild if I had to imagine with the transfer.
Damn, I hope not.
That's my guess.
For you, Jeffrey, unfortunately, I think you're going to be it's going to a degree.
Don't tell me that, man. I was looking for that. I was looking for that May 1st
that silver line in there to get through it. Hey, and here's the other thing is grad transfers can still enter, and that's going to be probably who you're watching.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
So they can still enter. They'll waiver to play right away, but the NCAA is just blanket waivering those guys. If you graduate from someplace and you can transfer someplace else, that's a non-issue. I mean, that literally is like rubber stamping paperwork. They don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely interested to see. I'll put out some feelers on that Caleb Chapman, man. We looked about a month or two ago. I think after Keith had reported it was a no-go and confirmed that it was a no-go. But is that a possibility? Because if it is, I really think Auburn's got a shot there. You got Zach Calzada connection. You've got the SEC West. It'd be interesting to see if that materializes. If not, we'll shut it down real quick. Should be able to shut it down real quick. But definitely keep an eye on that. Grad transfer edges, grad transfer linebackers, obviously. And like we said, grad transfer, best available, man. Mm-hmm. If it improves your roster, you've got the numbers now, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've got the holes. You're not affecting anybody.
Then again, you got more spots to fill in your high school recruiting class now.
That's right. Man, big. So somebody asked, a couple of people asked about this after the Morris Joseph signing. That is 78, Jhead. Is that correct? You're our roster guy.
We're 78, maybe contingent on Jacob Quattlebaum and whether or not he's a scholarship guy now at this point. I'm not exactly sure. There could be some other walk-ons that have chips, but I think at this time 78. That's what sounds right to me.
Are you
right.
counting running back Jordan Ingram in that?
No,
Yes, I am. I'm counting. I'm counting Jordan Ingram right now. That's in my 78.
Okay.
So 7 spots to fill before the fall.
Correct. And
Plus,
look, if we can get just like that 82, I think that may.
Yeah, I mean that's about right? I mean, you get 82. Typically, you give a couple of walk-ons scholarship for a year, senior walk-ons that's been paying their dues. I mean, that's typical.
Yeah.
So what right now you're thinking Auburn is -4 of a standard roster.
Yeah.
Yes, that's my feeling on it, Jeffrey. About -4, and can we find, like you said, spots at another wide receiver and then 2 best available, and you're really looking pretty good if you can get there.
Absolutely.
Which I will say I've not known this staff yet to just fill spots to fill them. So, don't hold your breath on that. But obviously they still do want to try and get players if they feel like they're good enough, to try to fill out the roster. But again, there's a lot of unknowns right now. I can tell from us talking through this. So it's going to be an interesting couple of weeks.
Speaking of guys that are pretty good and not just to fill the roster, Brock Glenn, quarterback from Memphis.
Yeah.
We've talked Auburn Glenn is his name, Brock Auburn Glenn. And I think they call him Auburn because he was a big Auburn fan, right? Growing up, or his parents were.
Yeah.
I mean,
granddad went to Auburn University. He was named for his grandfather, who was a graduate of the veterinary medicine program there.
Tell you what, if he comes to Auburn, he'll be called Auburn. Promise you that. You better believe it.
Well, I'm gonna call him Brock because it's confusing the shit out of me. I mean, we talk about Auburn all the time and what Auburn's going to do. Well, we're talking about Brock Glenn. We're going to talk about Brock. But anyway, he is, in my opinion, a stud quarterback. He's a 3-star guy on every network. I think Cole said ESPN had him at a 4. Was that Brock you were talking about?
No, it was Jalen Worsham.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But anyways, Brock Glenn is a consensus 3-star. But he's went to the elite regionals in Nashville, I think 2 weeks ago, showed out. Has now made the Elite 11 finals. Jhead, you like this kid?
Love the consistent work, the repeatable arm motion. Everything screams, Brian Harsin quarterback. He is a prototypical pro style with good athleticism. Cole hit it the other day when he talked about presence and ability, not necessarily bailing too quickly and being able to step through the pocket and still make accurate throws. Everything about him screams system fit. And there are a lot of other teams that have taken notice of what he's done since the fall with regard to his, work with quarterback, with regard to the Elite 11 and the performance that he just put on. And him has now involved Mississippi State, who always throws the football, and Mike Leach is a great, backs. Tony Elliott from Virginia, who had a lot of with quarterback. And then TCU and Sonny Dykes.
Yeah.
All 5 programs that are involved experience with producing good quarterback play. And I think it speaks to his pedigree. It speaks to his competitiveness, what he just did out at the Elite 11. And I think what out there by guys and the national guys that were on the scene was that he was the quarterback floor. Fewest mistakes of any quarterback there, was pretty flawed standpoint. Maybe doesn't have the upside of the Nico Iamaleava, I think is how you say his name. It's committed to Tennessee. You're not going to have the drop off either. There's parts that are really raw. You don't have that issue with Brock.
Yeah.
Just I think from a fit system, 3-star, whatever. I think he's going to go up in the rankings, to be completely honest. I think when he goes out there to California, he's going to show off even more, and you'll see him rise. But even if he's not a top in the country, that doesn't matter to me. What matters is, does he fit our scheme? Does he Harsin and what he wants from an arm talent standpoint, quarterback mentality standpoint, from an athletic standpoint? And he fits all 3 of those criteria.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't this the second year in a row Auburn's didn't Holden Gerner make the 11 finals last year? didn't go out there and you know what I mean. He didn't kill it.
Yeah, he was in it though.
But he killed it up until those finals, and then he had an average week out there from what I read.
He was middle of the pack, but he did make it.
Yeah, he was 11. I mean, he was a middle of the pack, Elite 11 finalist.
Right.
Curious to see how Brock Glenn is going to do out there. Curious to see if Auburn's going to be able to pull him. We're expecting an official visit in June. I think a decision won't be too far off.
Yeah, I think the exposure has gotten more schools' attention too. And I don't know. He hasn't gotten any newer offers from, big schools, but I know there's probably communication. I talked with him a good bit. So he said he's hearing from other schools. And, I don't think there's anything to worry about there. I think Auburn's probably the team to beat without question. But just to show you, once they start seeing him in these camp settings and all that, schools are interested in his ability. So, I mean, once again, it seems like Brian Harsin and his staff get out in front of a lot of guys with the evaluation. They do it a lot, So that's another guy to add to that list.
Well,
I agree. I think it'll boil down to an SEC West battle. I think you're probably going to see Auburn versus Mississippi State, and if A&M does offer, they're going to be in contention. And they're close. I mean, they're talking to him. He's one of 3 quarterbacks that they've recently made a move on. Jalen Rashida, Dante Moore. Brock Glenn's also. So if they make an offer, I guarantee it. And then, you know what I mean, you got a real battle on your hands. So I said Auburn, Mississippi State, Texas A&M. Those are the 3 schools that I'm on for Brock Glenn.
Yeah.
With Brock Glenn, I've talked to him in person one time on the phone a couple of times. He seems like more of an Auburn guy. I mean, A&M is Jimbo he's different. They recruit different kids, and I'll be curious to see if Jimbo does make a run at him, and if so, if that affects anything. I'm with Cole. I think Jhead, we're all in the same boat. I think Auburn's the team to beat. I think it'll take a lot to change that. And curious to see how things play out with him. I hope he ends it pretty soon. I really feel like Auburn's they're all in on this kid.
Yeah.
Brian Harsin is very involved in this recruitment. Keithall's very involved with this recruitment. So, I mean, hell, it seems like a lot of them are. They've put a lot of chips on this one.
Right.
So we'll see how that plays out. Speaking of Jimbo, had a little news. Old Nick Saban. I won't spend too much time on it. I just want to say, like, Nick Saban, this might be one you want to sit out, big dog. You know what I'm saying? Like, you might want to sit this one out. God, he did he? Yeah, he said Jimbo paid every one of them, and we didn't pay anybody.
Well, I mean, it was a fun game before everybody could play, right?
Yeah. Damn. I have the
turntables.
Oh, there was a couple of guys that jumped out and was like, "Hey, man, what was that dude? Who was it that said you offered me?" It was Alabama, but it wasn't Saban. Anyways, I just that was. I'm curious to see how Jimbo's going to respond.
Oh, that's going to be fun.
So
Jimbo's thin-skinned, man. Jimbo's real thin-skinned, so he's going to respond.
Well,
what does he say?
Is this actually a response to what Jimbo said earlier? I can't remember when he said it, but he said
it was on signing day. He said we didn't pay for that.
Is this?
I think that was $40 million or something they paid for that signing class.
Yeah,
reportedly.
$30 million is what was reported.
Okay.
Yeah,
for one guy, you mean?
Yeah. No. For the whole $30 million is what Texas A&M. Yeah, it's what Texas A&M was reported to have expended.
Well, let's just look at the past year with Jimbo Fisher and Nick Saban. Jimbo Fisher said we're going to beat his ass while he's there, which they subsequently did.
Yeah, but you have to give that credit to Zach Calzada.
Zach Calzada at quarterback. Then he goes and takes the number 1 recruiting class from Saban. He basically lifted Saban's skirt and patted him on the butt and said, "Move along, big dog."
Yeah, he did, didn't he?
And then Nick Saban, I'm telling you, dude. Hey, listen, I think he's a very average coach, my opinion.
Yeah.
I think he's a fantastic. Anybody can be a fantastic coach when you accumulate the wealth of talent.
Yeah.
That he does. Somebody, I think it was one of our Clemson guys, made a note last night making fun of Jimbo Fisher, saying he went 8-4 and somehow signed the top 4 defensive ends. And my reply was, dude, Nick Saban went 6-6 in the regular season in 2007, lost to freaking Louisiana Monroe, and then signed the number 1 class in the country and has stayed there ever since. So with lesser talent, he was 2-6 in the SEC. He was 6-6 overall. He lost to Louisiana Monroe and only had a winning record because they beat Colorado in the Liberty Bowl or something that year. He then signs 4 months later. He signs the number 1 class in the country and has been at the top since. So,
well, did you guys?
That coming in? Zimbo's having a press conference right now. All right, well, that's cool. We're shooting this. They should be ready pretty soon.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's. That's all I got. I got a couple. How about you, man? And then we're going to be back Tuesday night with our call-in show. We'll see if we can't. Hey, Jhead, it wasn't too bad, dude. I give it a C, solid C. Your audio.
It was not as bad.
Okay.
It was a solid C. We'll see if we can't get that worked out. Do y'all have any how about yous or anything?
Nope.
I got one for Zach, man. And if anybody, Zach, can you jump on here? Cole, you had a really good interview with Morris Joseph. Y'all go check out Zach's podcast. Where can I hear about that, Zach?
Yeah, you can just look up the Blue Bloods podcast or the Blue Bloods on YouTube, or if you type in Morris Joseph interview, man, it'll be one of the first ones there. So shout out to y'all.
Put that on the board. Why don't we put that on the board?
Yeah, Zach, go post that.
Post it for you. I got you.
Got you, man.
A couple of how about you. I only have 4 how about you. I got 3. Oh, I got 50 dingleberry. Man, we had some dingleberry posts. I got my dingleberry of the week. I go to Albie Bella. I got Granite Tiger, AU _ Cheddar Biscuit, and everything Gucci. All 4 y'all. Y'all are decent posters. Had a couple of dingleberry posts. The Dow, the DOW, the dingleberries of the week. The Dows this week. How about you this week to Swamp Eagle, man? He's come a reg on here.
Oh yeah.
But he's a great poster. He makes some very counter posts on some of these DOWs. All 12's fantastic, man. I got to get him a shout out. He's had a wonderful
He's been great.
posting. How about you to All Day Berry? All Day Berry, I think he's a newer guy. Appreciate him. And then Anon 162829129. How about you to Anon there? Again, folks, see this weekend, Connor Stroh's coming in for an official visit. Might have some others come in. Keep an eye out on that. Official visits will begin this weekend. Connor Stroh will be offensive tackle coming in. Be on the lookout for that Sunday. Tuesday, we're going to have our call-in show. Should have some more callers, man. We had some great couple of first weeks on that show. But if you are not over the site, jump on there, man. Auburn Live on one free week. If you don't like it, you can cut us, but it won't happen. I promise you. Otherwise, we will see y'all next Tuesday night, 6:30 p.m. on our YouTube channel, Auburn Live on 3. For Cole, Pinkston, for Jhead, I'm Jeff Lee. Stay out of the left lane, let your pass and get the tail back over in the right.